Thank you, Sangat for attending this week's Sangat of the Divine Light weekly discourse, and thank you, Kiara Ji, for leading us in beautiful meditation of the Mool Mantar and Guru Mantar. I was hoping that the Mool Mantar and Guru Mantar will last a bit longer because it was absolutely beautiful just to sit there and then the silence at the end. Thank you very much for sharing. For centuries now, Sangat Ji, regardless of our religious practice or what spiritual discipline we belong to, countless people, many of us, have embarked on different pilgrimages in our lifetimes. The pilgrimage is to remove our sins. We've traveled to these places out of religious obligations for the need of salvation, to understand the true home of the divine. Many of us have been traveling, and all the major faiths talk about pilgrimage. And thousands flock to pilgrimage centers, whether that's Mecca, whether it's to the holy sites of the Hindus, whether it's to Darbar Sahib in Amritsar, to Pakistan and Ghana Sahib. Many different journeys take place all the time in order to walk on the path of the saints that have traveled before, and in a quest to sit at the home of the divine. But in truth, Sangatji, there is such a pilgrimage that by attending countless mistakes, countless of our negativity, all these experiences that we built up over multiple lives are simply erased. And at that pilgrimage is where we truly find the home of the divine. Just as Guru Nanak Dev Ji has told us, they've said, Mag puneet pai tirat antar janya, sajan saj mile gun ke ank samanya. In this auspicious month, they were referring to the particular month of Mag at the time, but in this auspicious month, I've become pure, they said, because now I know that that sacred shrine of pilgrimage is within me. And in that sacred shrine, at that sacred shrine, I found that true friend of mine who sits there in complete peace, Saj. And taking on their virtues, I've merged into them. I've become them. Guruji is saying that now we've come to know what this inner pilgrimage is all about. The need for our external journeys are no more. I've come to know the home of the divine. I've come to know the inner place of stillness. I found that inner pilgrimage that washes my countless mistakes, removes my pains and frustrations. Those anxieties that I've had have just been lifted at this pilgrimage. Those previous negative karmas that I've developed, they've been washed away at this pilgrimage. The gurus, this has to be understood. Many will say that the gurus condemned going to pilgrimage sites. That's not what the guru was saying. The guru was teaching us about the true purpose of an inner pilgrimage. The blessings of any pilgrimage, any journey that we do, is the sangat that we find at that pilgrimage. But when you come into when you develop your spiritual practice, you come to the point like Bhagavad Ramananda Ji says, Kata jaye re, kar lago rang. Where am I meant to go now? Because I found the divine in my home. Where am I meant to travel? Kata jaye rang. Kata jaye re, kar lago rang. Where am I meant to go? Because in my house, I found the divine. So what pilgrimage is Guru Nanak Dev Ji telling us to do? In their Japji Sahib, they've told us, Suniya maniya man kita pao, antargat tirth mal nao. By listening, by having that firm faith and acceptance, with love and humility in the mind, I've cleansed myself with the name of the divine. I found that sacred shrine within me. To explain this, Sangatji, let's take this analogy. Whatever we eat, whatever nutrients we consume, those nutrients are retained in the body and converted into blood. They make our flesh, they make our skin, they make this body work. But anything the body rejects, it's simply just excreted out, it wastes away. In the same way, Sonia Mania, by first listening and then accepting, we come into this Sangat. And when we come into the Sangat, we need to question with what attitude we've come into the Sangat. We may be hearing, but we may not retain absolutely everything in our consciousness. And only what we retain in our consciousness will have any real change in our life, any real development in our spiritual practice. Only things that we retain will become who we are. The rest will simply fly away. We are hearing, but the act of listening is much deeper than Guru Nanak Dev Ji is telling us. Suniya. It's a much deeper and personal experience, and it's only after listening, where we've involved this mind in the process, that we'll see this change in our life. And it's the thing is, we often say we've heard, we say we've read, we say we've observed, but this mind is not made up. And the thing is, until we've involved this mind in that process, there'll be no change, there'll be no mark on our consciousness. Being in the present, to listen with that one-pointedness is absolutely paramount. The Guru has told us so much about listening, this state of listening. And as we've heard in previous discourses, it's through this art of listening that any inner awareness is achieved. So much the Guru has said. They've dedicated 4 specific steps to listening. Bodhiya, to listening itself. And countless Shabas thereafter talking about the state of Sun. In this listening, one becomes the greatest of entities, Siddha, Pir, Suranath. Through this listening, the Guru has then told us, you become like Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. These are the Hindu demigods, the creator, the sustainer, and the destroyer. Through the listening in this one-pointedness, you become them. It's through this listening and implementing these teachings in this life that we find Sat Santokh. We find this truth, contentment, and enlightenment. And it's through this listening, this ultimate listening, that our never-ending pains and frustrations are simply forgotten. Nanak Bhagata Sada Vigas, Suniya Dukh Paap Ka Nas. And in the end, Guru Amar Das Ji, the third Guru, gives us another example about listening. They say, Ananda Suno Vada Bhagyo. This ecstasy, this Ananda, this bliss, that experience of the one divine that you're searching for doesn't come through speaking. But as Bhai Sahib Ji explained, it comes through listening. Ananda Suno. Listen intently to this bliss. Listen intently to this ecstasy that's within you. And from this you'll find your complete fulfillment. And where there is this fulfillment, there's not even the slightest of flickering of desires. Who are those that have listened? Guruji has said that those that have accepted and implemented what they're listening, the art of listening, the ability to silence these outer ears, silence these distractions of this world, the silencing of our countless thoughts and perceptions, silencing those things that really just don't matter. This is when the inward journey starts, and they're the ones who have started to listen to this internal voice, this internal Shabad. When these ears close, when these eyes close, the inner eyes, the inner ears then begin to open. We as individuals on this spiritual journey, on this quest of knowing, on this internal pilgrimage, we're on this journey to come to know what we're a part of, who we are, where we've come from. It's why Guru Nanak Dev Ji gave their followers the name Sikh. Sikh means the one who wishes to learn, who's a student. And this student you remain throughout your whole life. There was one great saint, Baba Mia Singh. And even in their last days, when people were asking him what are their desires, they were asking the divine just to make them a Sikh. Even though they had absolutely everything, they were saying, make me a Sikh. Why? Because if we understand this statement truly, we find that it's full of immense humility. To be a true student, to be a true Sikh, we have to have the impression that we understand nothing. I am nothing. I know nothing. Even after experiencing everything, there's still so much that I do not know of you. For that reason, I'm a Sikh. I'm your Sikh. Keep me as your Sikh. Our lives are very short, but your inner knowledge is too great for me to comprehend. For that reason, I'm your Sikh. Nor do I know now, nor do I understand, nor will I understand. On a very literal level, Sangatji, take any of the scriptures, any of the Gurbani, any of the spiritual texts from any religion, out of that vast ocean of divine virtues, you can consider yourself extremely blessed, extremely fortunate if you've even been able to read and comprehend even one passage, one shabad, one line. Ek sabad mere pran basta hai, bod janam na hava. Even one line, one shabad is enough to allow us to be free of this world. This katha, these discourses, katha is the Punjabi word for discourses, the meditation, the simran we do, the divine music and poetry that we sing, the kirtan that we share, these are all food for this soul. These are all destinations on our eternal pilgrimage. These are the instruments themselves that bring us into the state of sun. And through self-inquiry, known as vichar, when we basically start involving this mind, and we involve this intellect in the contemplation, the meditation of the divine, we'll still see those positive changes starting to develop in our lives. That turns into something special that we've all experienced, Sangatji, by sitting here in this virtual Sangat, and also when we've gone to our places of worship. The power of divine music, the power of discourses. In the house of the Guru, the divine music and discourses are the center of our spiritual journey, our spiritual energy. For me, music is divine. Each note, each sur, as we say, is divine. And in each note, the divine lives. Just as the divine is universal, so is music. Just as divine is carefree, so is music. Just as the divine is freedom, so is music. And in the house of the Guru, we revere Bhai Mardana, who was the first person to sing the Shabads with Guru Nanak. And we revere those like Bhai Abdullah, the first who sung the bards of valor, the Tadiwara, as we know in Sikh history. They will sing courageous stories and songs and poems to allow us to have energy to fight for what's right, but also to fight against the 5 thieves that plague us. What's interesting is that by birth, these were born into Muslim households, by Mardana, by Abdullah, but they became timeless. They rose beyond labels because they had traveled inwards. So whosoever is joined with Nirankar, the formless divine, whoever is joined with this oneness, they share these characteristics, Sangatji, through their music, through their prayers, through their meditations. They become extremely soft-hearted. They may have a hard exterior, but the purest of all saints are extremely soft-hearted, just like Babaji were. They become extremely compassionate. And according to Guru Sahib, that soft nature comes from a focus on these arts, because it's with these arts we then go into our internal journey, this internal pilgrimage. Through the art of Kirtan, whether you're singing it or listening to it, whether you're experiencing spiritual music or you're simply contemplating it, through the art of poetry, through the absorption of the written scripture, through the Shabad, by reading the Gurbani. These all lead us to the voice of the inner Shabad. All saints, all prophets of the path have all been associated with these arts. Their speech is like a symphony, Sangatji. And when they speak in poetry. They speak in love, they speak in music, they speak in rhythm. And it's with these rhythms that we find the divine, the home of the divine within us. All these avatars of the past have been known by their arts. Even Guru Nanak Dev Ji is referred to themselves as a poet. Even Guru Gobind Singh Ji themselves have referred to themselves as a poet. Countless places they've said the name Kavi, Kabio Baj Benti Chaupi. They've said, I'm a poet of the divine, but I'm not separate from all the other poets. I'm aspiring to be a poet just like they are. Guru Nanak Dev Ji said the same thing. Nanak Saire Eva Kehta hai, Sache Parvadagara. Nanak the poet says. Whereas Gurbani, the scriptures actually go far beyond poetry. There are many out there, Sangatji, who will profess that they rely on their intellect to get them through life, and they will rely on their intellect, their cleverness, their trickery to get them through their spiritual life as well. But ask them about experience of the inner Shabad, the inner voice, the inner music. Ask them to put their intellect into painting a sculpture. Ask them to how they would decorate the internal mind of the divine. Speak to them about spiritual concepts, how to be still, how to find that inner silence. And they will have no answer for you. Because they've got no appreciation of this internal creativity, this internal creation that's within us all. Because they haven't actually started that journey. An individual with divine love, a divine spiritualist that is listening intently, remains in the presence of these arts. Our focus, Sangatji, is always brought to the external, but not the internal creativity that's waiting to be unleashed. And unless we absorb these messages, we won't go internally. There'll be no demonstrable impact on our life, on our wisdom, on our understanding. But when the mind starts to absorb these messages, Sangatji, when we start becoming those arts, we start living that kirtan, living that meditation, living those discourses, once we start to digest this, we find that faith, we find that bharosa. We start to get to the state of mania. We arrive at that faith. And once we arrive at that faith, that's where we find that love, that bhakti, that devotion, that bhavana, that love. In the Sangat, this kirtan, these discourses, the dadis, the kavis, the poets, the poems that we recite, all allow us to absorb these messages of faith into our heart. And then that faith turns into devotion. Sangatji, just as a bit of explanation, the ancient saints were referred to as the Rishi Munis. Rishis are the ones who are the saintly poets. And Muni means the one who silenced themselves, silenced their mind in the Shabad. All the spiritual texts of the past have been brought by saints like these. Those that have experienced the divine through that silence, through that sun. Take Bhagat Ravidas Ji. They're mending their shoes on the side of the road. They're a cobbler by trade, but within them is radiating this poetry of love. Take Islam as an example. There's a prohibition on music. But if you hear the Quran Sharif being recited, if you hear about how the Quran was revealed, it was transformed. It came in a poetic form and with meters. When the Maulvi initiates the Bang or the call to prayer, there's a beautiful song that's being sung to the divine. When Guru Nanak's singing in the Asa Diwar, they're saying Vismad Naad, Vismad Ved. In your ovaz, in your sound, in your internal sound, I'm wonderstruck. I'm completely lost in awe at the sound and the beauty of your sound. I have no words. It's just wow. But what makes the difference between these spiritual poets, the rishis, and the Kavi, the ordinary poet. The true Rishi is the light. The Kavi is the one who gets the occasional flashes here and there. Sometimes that poet rises high and sometimes that poet goes low. But the Rishis are the ones who are immersed in that light completely. They are the true saintly souls. People may have done all sorts of devotion in their lives, but there have been no acceptance. In the same way, we may know about these spiritual concepts, we may understand them, but until we infuse that light in our heart, we will still be the poets, we won't be those Rishis, despite what you might call yourself. If we look at examples in our history, we know the story of Sajjan. Sajjan was a thug that used to prey on innocent travelers, spiritual travelers. But one Shabad, hearing one Shabad from the words from the lips of Guru Nanak and being sung by Bhai Mardana, changed his life completely. Take other examples that we've spoken about in Sangat the Divine Light, those of Ajamal, those of Ganaka. Last week we heard about Bhai Bidhi Chand, and how one encounter with blessed souls in the Sangat completely changed their life. One line, one word, one verse, one Shabad, one encounter with the Sangat can completely change everything. So this faith, this bharosa, it comes from listening. But in the same way, when we listen to the faithless, the cynics, one word from them can completely make us lose all of our faith, all of our bharosa. You can lose absolutely everything in that Sangat, in that faithless Sangat. Sangatji, there are thousands of things out there that will take us away from our destination, from this eternal pilgrimage. Thousands of things. But there's only one thing that will inspire us and cultivate our faith. One thing. And that is Sangat. Those that have, through repeated meditations, that have found their faith. And as they've deepened their faith, they've then got to that place of devotion to bhakti. What's so special about those? Once you get to that state of devotion, bhakti, you can cut them from limb by limb. You could cut them in half. Their faith is unflinching. That those people who are in this state, they will see the divine even in their executioner. Jo dise so tera roop. They have achieved something called samdrishti. They see everything is absolutely the same. They become a bhagat, the true one who's devoted, the true saint. They become that rishi. They become that sant. They become that mahapurush. They become that gurmukh. And for them, everything is one. Everything is one. Everything is one. Just occurring to me now is the great Sakhi of Bhai Kanhaiya. Bhai Kanhaiya was a Sikh of Guru Tegh Bahadur and the 9th Guru. And hearing of the greatness of Guru Tegh Bahadur, they came into the presence of the 9th Guru, and there they learnt Seva and Simran, and they practiced the Seva and Simran daily. And as the 10th Master Guru Gobind Singh Ji then came to the throne, they served the Guru, the 10th Master, with that same devotion. As war broke out, Sangatji, as the Sikhs were attacked, Bhai Kanhaiya was given the duty to serve water to the injured, to the soldiers. But as Bhai Kanhaiya were on the battlefield, they could be seen giving water to the Sikh soldiers, but also to the enemies that were attacking them. The Sikhs complained. They came to Guru and said, Guru Maharaj, your Sikh's a traitor. He's serving water to all the enemies that are attacking us. They're then drinking the water, becoming rejuvenated and attacking us again. Guru Gobind Singh Ji was the knower of all hearts, but let this whole drama to play out. And they called Bhai Kanhaiya to them. And they said, Bhai Kanhaiya, is this true that you're serving water to the enemy and that they're attacking us? Bhai Kanhaiya turned to Guru Gobind Singh Ji, hands folded, and said, no. Wherever I've gone, all I see is your face. Jo dise so tera roop. In each and every person, I've seen your light, the one light of Guru Nanak in absolutely everyone. I can't see anybody different. I can't even tell who's who. And hearing this, Guru Gobind Singh Ji, even more pleased, already reaching for their pouch, pulled out a medicine box for Bhai Kanhaiya and said to the Sangat that this Bhai Kanhaiya has realized what it truly means to be one with the divine. They've reached that state of Brahmgyan. They've reached that state of Samdrishti. Now take this box and also tend to their wounds. It was a medical box. Tend to their wounds as well. They become so soft-hearted that they see the divine in absolutely everything and everyone. But if we look at our own lives, if we're honest, countless of us lose our faith over the smallest things. Over the smallest things, I've seen people's faith break. And this is the thing, Sangatji, whilst we're out to the sea, while our ship is out, that boat can capsize at any time. Which is why Sangat, Seva, Simran, keeping us focused in that Sangat is of utmost importance. Until we get to that end stage of bhakti, that devotion, that faith can break at any time. That one Bhagat sees absolutely everything as one. They see the one in nature. They hear the voice of the divine calling them from each and every angle. And if we want to truly experience that, we have to go through all the different experiences and perceptions first before we get there. If we fall off that bike, don't worry, let's just get back on and pedal again. But along this, make this one prayer. And in the Sikh Gurdwaras, we recite this prayer quite often. Dandod Bandhan Ankabar Sarv Kala Samarath Dolan Te Rakhu Prabhu Nanak De Kar Hath. I've fallen at your feet, completely straight, fallen Dandod. Countless times, Sarv Kala Samarath, to the treasure of all virtues, all Kala, all arts. And my request is Dolan Te Rakho Prabhu. Please protect me. May I not fall. May I not falter from this path. May you keep me under your protection and give me your hand. Nanak De Kar Hath. So with these words, Sangatji, let us pray to the divine that they keep holding us. They show us this divine journey, that they keep us in this beautiful Sangat, whatever Sangat that will take you into your divine experience. And may we find that place of faith in our lives. And that's where we will then truly start our internal pilgrimage to find where the divine resides within our true home. And with these words, Sangatji, thank you so much, and I beg your forgiveness. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.